Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Rover and Zest Enhancements, Additional Room Diary Updates, and more. This webinar is presented by Stayntouch Implementations Consultant James Lee. I am your host, Justin DeRisi, the customer marketer here at Stayntouch. Moving on to the presentation agenda, we see that we are going to cover a number of different product enhancements from Rover version 5.10. We're going to look into numerous different types of product enhancements to Rover's features, including enhancements to the TA card, auto check-in, invoice and folio export, and day use reservations. We're going to cover additional upgrades to the room diary, including reservations, unassigned reservations, and the book button. We will also look at features covered in the You Ask, We Listen section. So that's where we implement different features that are requested by our customer base. This will include enhancements to the AR statement, bulk checkout, and daily production reports. We'll also look at a few country-specific requirements, looking at specifically Austria and Germany. We will have a short Q&A session. You can ask questions at any point in the presentation by accessing the questions tab in your control panel. We will take questions in the order that they're received at the end of the presentation. If you come up with any questions after the presentation is over and would like to reach out to us, feel free to email me. My email address is jderise@stayintouch.com. The assets and webinar recording will also be shared within 24 hours. And that is about all I have for right now, James. I'm going to switch the presentation over to you.
Thanks, Justin. All right, does everybody see my screen? Do you see my screen, Justin?
I do.
All right, perfect. Well, hello everyone. My name is James Lee. I'll be explaining some of the new features that we rolled out in version 5.10. I'm going to be working in my training environment today, so I'm going to log in here. All right, one of the first things that we'd like to go over is some enhancements that we have made into the travel agency profile, or the travel agency card. If you are in a multi-property environment, we have rolled out a feature where you can now manage commission rates based on property. So if you find a travel agency profile that you have in your system, I bring up my Amex travel card here. We do have this global setting up here that allows you to turn on global or off. If you are in a multi-property and you want to be able to use this card amongst all your hotels, you can turn on your global option here. Once you turn it on, it does set to default as a global commission, and it's setting at 10%. That means that it's going to be 10% for all properties. But if you do have some dynamic commission rates based on each different properties, you can actually check this box, uncheck it, I should say, and you get a new button called that pops up called Show Properties. When you click on the Show Properties, you would see your hotels here, and this is where you would actually input the commissions for each property. Now, my hotel in the training environment is not a multi-property environment, so I do want to bring up kind of a screenshot of what this would look like if you were in a multi-property environment here. Oops, you know what? I didn't have that ready. Hold on one second. I apologize, I didn't have that screenshot ready, but normally you would see the list of the hotels here in your property environment. You would see the commission field where you can set that commission. It could be dollar or percentage, and you can also mark it prepaid. So you can set that up different for each property. If you wanted to make the same commission rate for all hotels, you would just leave this box checked, and it would be the same commission rate. Another enhancement that we have rolled out is a new reservation type called Payment Guaranteed. And that's actually in your settings here. Under settings and under reservations, you have reservation types. Payment Guaranteed is listed here, and you can activate it by just turning on this toggle switch. With this activated, you could link it to other payment codes. This can be used for alternative platforms or different kind of third-party paying situations. So if you do Airbnb or PayPal, you want to be able to have a payment code specifically for that, and you can link it to the payment guaranteed. This also comes into play with Zest check-in. Previously, we were only allowing credit card reservations to check in via the web on Zest, but with payment guaranteed, you can now enable your guests that have that third-party payment, or if they're staying Airbnb, they can then do the Zest check-in as well without the credit card. Another feature that we rolled out is a new export that gives us a folio export of your previous departures. In your report section, you have schedule a report export. And then from here, you can go into schedule and export. And I could say new export schedule. And we have a new one here called Invoice Folio Export. And this is going to give you a CSV file of all your all your folios with the invoices. So from here, I can actually click on this. You could do yesterday, you could do for today's date, you can do a specific date. If you want to look at all your folios from a specific date, you could do that as well. Once you have it set up, you can go into your export details. If you would like to have this repeating daily or weekly or monthly, you can set that up here. You can do it once per week or how many times per week, and you can set your time at what time you would like that export to be delivered to you. And then your distribution list is where you would set up an email, or if you have an FTP server set up, you could do it that way. But with the email, you would type in your email address and add it, and then you can create the schedule. All right, I do have an example of the export, what it looks like. And this is an example that we have from our demo hotel, which is the Wexford Bay property. You can see that it gives you the posting account number and the confirmation number. You see the arrival date, the departure date, the status of it, if it's a no-show or checked out. You also get your invoice number, your folio number, and then you get your outstanding balance, any net amount, total debit amount, and then total credit amount over here on the right. Right. Some of the new enhancements that we rolled out with day use. From the dashboard here, I'm going to go in to make a reservation. If I go in to make a reservation, if I type in 0 nights here, you'll notice you'll get an arrival time and departure time on the right side because it knows that it is a day use room. Now our system will default to put 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but you can set it up to whatever time you prefer. Let's say, for example, this person's going to be coming in at 12:15 p.m. and I know they're going to be checking out at 7:15 p.m. From here, I can go ahead and find room and rates. I can choose my rate code. We'll go with best available 2 here. I can then make a reservation. Just making up a name here. All right, and then I can go ahead and process a deposit if I need to now. On this particular rate code, I do have a deposit due at time of booking, so I'm going to pay that now. Continue. Choose my demographics. All right, and now when you actually look at your arrivals list for the day, if I go back to my dashboard here and look at my arrivals, I can see Jason Smith is in here, but you'll notice the icons change a little bit. On your one-night reservations, you have an up and a down arrow that are on top of each other, but here they're next to each other because this guest is leaving and arriving on the same date. And you also see the time that the guest is arriving and the time that the guest is departing, and then it also puts a red D here to let you know that this is a day use reservation. Part of the functionality also is when you check in that guest, as I check it in here, terms and conditions, sign it and complete the check-in process. It's actually going to post the room and tax for you automatically, so you don't need to go ahead and post that. It's not going to post during the night audit. It takes care of it right there in the check-in process and posts the rate for you. On our room diary, go back here. It does show up a little bit different there as well. So I'm looking at my room diary for room 106. You can see it has a little up and down arrow, letting me know that this is a day use reservation. And from here, I can actually go into the stay card. One thing also to note that in your additional details, there will be a day use toggle switch here that sets to on. Now this happens automatically. You're not going to be able to turn this off or anything because it will automatically turn on because it is a day use reservation. Since we're on the state card, we do have some other functionality that have been rolled out here. As you all know, we can book reservations from the state card here. When I hit book, it's going to give me my arrival date and departure date. But we've also introduced the ability to select the arrival time and departure time of the reservation. Now, by default, it's going to show your hotel check-in time and checkout time. But from here, I could say, you know, the guest is coming in at 5 p.m. and I know they're going to leave the next day at 10 a.m. I could then find my rooms, and it's going to show me a room that I could book. Mine says overbook because I do have some restrictions set on my rates, but if you had no restrictions, it would just say book on there. From here, I can go ahead and continue on the reservation as I normally would. We have also rolled out some features to accounts receivables. These are some of the features that have been requested by hotels. So this is our you request, we listen functions. In financials, if I go into my account receivables, I'm going to bring up my Google account. We have introduced the ability to print invoices directly from an AR statement. So for example, if I looked at Taylor Swift's reservation here, I clicked on her double arrow there, and I have the option now to print an invoice. So printing the invoice, I could either email it or print it out. And this will show me the invoice for that particular guest. We have also, with our statement, made some changes here. So if I come here and filter out, say I want to look at all my invoices from July 4th through July 10th. And I have 3 invoices here, and I choose to print my statement. Some of the enhancements that we have made is now we include our AR number here. Before, we would always give just the total amount due on the entire AR account. While we are still showing that information, we've included a new line that will only show the total of the invoices that you've selected to print on the statement. So it is looking at these 3 invoices, and it's giving you that total amount here. We've also showing the filter dates that you're looking at. So this shows that we are looking at invoices from July 4th through July 10th as well. We also introduced a new format of how you can print statements. If you prefer not to have the details, you could choose to include summary. Summary is just going to give you line by line invoice totals, and you're not going to get that detail. We have also rolled out new functionality with our bulk checkout functionality. From your checkouts, we do have this new bulk checkout option where you can check out all your reservations. It will show you anybody that has a 0 balance here, but if you do check this box right here, it's also going to bring up any reservations that have credit cards. I unfortunately don't have the credit card set up in my training environment, so I don't have an example to show you here, but normally you would just hit check out. This functionality was rolled out recently, but the new thing that we did roll out with this version is that it will now email folios to the guest. It will default to email folio 1 to the email address on file. Before, it was not actually emailing those folios, but now it is going to email those out. We have also added some new reports that can be scheduled to be emailed to you on a daily basis. Under reports, we have schedule a report export. And under scheduled reports, if I do new report schedule, we have added daily production by demographics, which can be by market segment, source code, origin codes. And we've also rolled out daily production by rate code or rate type. Those are 3 different reports now that you can have it scheduled to be emailed to you. So with daily production, say by demographics here, of course, you have your options of what you want to include in those totals, cancel, no-show reservations. You can choose what you want to show on that report. Do I just want to see markets or origins? Do I want to see everything? File format is going to be CSV, so it'll be a text file that you can open up in Excel. And just like we did with the export earlier, you can come here and determine how often you would like this report, when time you would like this report to be delivered. And then you can move on to your distribution list and add email addresses to people that want to see this report in their inbox. Some other features that we've rolled out with guest cards for requirements for like Germany and Austria. We do have the ability now to, under your settings here, you can choose to include more information in your guest cards. So under cards here, we have company and guest card fields. And then from here, you can choose to include other information. Say, for example, you wanted to include gender, which is one of the new features that we rolled out. You can also decide to make it mandatory if you like. Mandatory will force you to create that before you can create the profile. But one of the things that we rolled out with gender is now the ability to just have a drop down of male and female. As before, it was actually an open text field. So with the drop down here under the guest card, I have, oh, should be here. Make sure I turn that on. I may not have saved that. So let me turn it back on, save it. And now we have a gender drop down where you can choose male or female. All right. And that's going to wrap up the new enhancements and features that we rolled out to version 5.10. I'm going to actually turn it back over to Justin. He can go ahead and conclude this call. We can have our Q&A session as well.
Thanks a lot, James. So I am seeing one question. The questioner asked, you mentioned that the new reservation type for payment guaranteed can be linked to a payment code. Can you show us all how to do that?
Absolutely. So in your settings here, under your financials, you do have your payment methods here. So under payment methods, I can add new up here at the top. And let's say, for example, I wanted to create one for Airbnb. Airbnb process the payments themselves, and they send the reservations to you. I can give this a code right here, but here's where I would link that reservation type. So here I can say this is payment guaranteed, and then I can go ahead and save changes here. Just as a reminder, when you do add a new payment method, you do have to make sure you also add a charge code where you can link it to your actual payment method that you created. By selecting a charge code type of payment, you'll get your drop down here, and then you could select Airbnb.
Excellent. So I am not seeing any further questions in the queue. I'm actually going to send out my email address in the chat function. If you think of any questions later on or after the presentation is over, feel free to reach out to me and I will put you in touch with James. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you very much, James, for your insightful presentation. And of course, I'd also like to thank our audience for choosing to listen in with us this afternoon. Again, if you do have any additional questions, feel free to email me at jderisi@stayntouch.com. And thank you very much.
Thank you.